So this movie officially came out in 2014, but I only just got the chance to watch it recently. Briefly, the movie is about a medical student named Mia who's researching Alzheimer's disease, and she decides to live with a patient for a month or 2 months with her camera crew, and she stays with Deborah Logan and her daughter. So it turns out that Deborah actually is being possessed rather than has Alzheimer's disease, and that the symptoms sort of match up. So I found that interesting, how they used her illness kind of to introduce the horror theme in the movie, which was good. So it is a found footage film, so if you're not into that kind of stuff, I'd still give it a go, because it's not like, it hasn't got a shaky camera or anything. It's very smooth. It's basically in the format of like a documentary. So I'll start with what I liked about the film. So I found it really interesting, as I said before, how they used kind of the facade of illness to cover up the fact that this woman Deborah was being possessed. I really like the character of Sarah, who was Deborah's daughter. She's definitely not the stereotypical woman in horror movies. She's not pretty, she's not dumb, she's definitely a lot more clever. Got some smarts about her, she's pretty savvy. Sarah was definitely a very genuine character. I really enjoyed her acting. I'm not sure what the actress's name is, but I was a fan. The actress who played Deborah, I think Jill Larson, she was very good as well. She had the perfect face for it, like that mix of, like, she could be a kind old lady, but she also kind of looks a bit creepy, so she was quite amazing. She did a great job of evoking that empathy for somebody who in a way was portrayed as evil in the film, but also who we tended to feel really sorry for. I also really liked in the film there was a very strong female presence, which you don't get in a lot of movies. They had a female sheriff. She was the head of police in the film, and basically the only kind of figure of authority that we ever really saw. There was of course Sarah, who basically controlled the household where the movie took place. There was Deborah, who the events are focused around. There was Mia, who was in charge of the entire documentary. So basically the only male figures are the neighbour, who's, I guess, plays kind of a minor role, and also the two cameramen who accompany Mia. So now I'll go on to what I didn't like so much about the film. So there are a few things. So one of them is structural. So the first half of the film was kind of about Deborah and her illness, and things just started to slowly go more wrong for her, and it kind of became apparent that perhaps something more than just Alzheimer's was wrong with her. But then the pacing just got thrown away in the second half of the film when the main storyline came to light, and the reason why Deborah was being possessed. I thought they could have probably introduced that a bit earlier in the film, expanded on it a bit more, and just not made it such a sudden jump into what happened next. Also, one other thing, I found it kind of difficult to believe in Mia and her camera crew's devotion to the family. I mean, when they arrived earlier on in the film, they definitely weren't welcomed. They got told to go away at first, and then they eventually came back, but they kind of put their lives on the line for this woman who hasn't even really been very good to them. So I found that kind of hard to believe, especially near the end. If you watch it, you'll see things get a bit crazy, and I just found it really hard to believe that Mia would kind of follow them through that. And finally, the epilogue section in the film, after everything's been resolved, and it was a very cliched ending, kind of like the cycle repeats kind of thing. It made it seem like everything that Deborah and the family had gone through in the movie was in vain, which is kind of not nice to see at the end of a movie that you've invested yourself in, and you want them to solve the problem, and then they do, and then it kind of throws back in your face, and it's like, well, no, they didn't. Yeah, so I kind of tried to ignore that last bit, pretend it wasn't there. Overall though, I'd probably give it 3 stars, so still worth watch. It was entertaining, definitely very creepy. Definitely worth watching if you're a fan of horror or found footage films. Bye!